Have you ever noticed that when life just feels overwhelming, when deadlines are piling up and the kids are arguing, or you're just feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders, you find yourself reaching for food? Maybe it's chips or something quick and comforting. You might even think, why can't I just handle the stress without eating? And if this sounds familiar, I'd like you to meet one of your emotional eating parts, the stress eater. The stress eater shows up when life feels chaotic or out of control. It's not here to ruin your progress or sabotage your goals. In fact, it's trying to protect you. But its way of helping by turning to food can sometimes leaving you feeling worse instead of better. So today, we're going to explore what your stress eater is really trying to do for you, and I'll share some practical steps that you can take to work with it, not against it. So let's start with why the stress eater exists. So imagine this. You've had a stressful day and your mind and body are just completely overwhelmed. The stress eater sees what's happening and thinks, I need to help. It's like an overprotective friend who doesn't want to see you in pain. So it grabs the quickest, easiest tool it knows, and that's food. Because food can create a sense of comfort, even if it's only temporary. It can quiet the chaos, if only for just a little while. So, in IFS terms, the stress eater is what we call a protector. Stress. Its job is to shield you from stress, discomfort, or pain. It's not the enemy. It's doing the best it can with the tools it has. But here's the thing. While food might calm the storm in the moment, it doesn't fix the root of the stress. And sometimes turning to food creates a cycle where we feel worse afterwards, more stressed, more frustrated, and even ashamed. That's why it's so important to understand this part of you. When you recognize that your stress eater is trying to help you, you can begin to respond with compassion instead of judgment. And that's where you can start to make real change. So let's take a moment to talk about where your stress eater came from. Like all of your emotional eating parts, this part didn't just appear out of nowhere. It developed over time, often as a response to the way you learned to cope with stress earlier in life. Think back to when you were a child. Maybe you grew up in a home where stress was high. Maybe there were arguments and financial struggles, or the pressure to always perform well. As a kid, you didn't have the tools you have now to manage those overwhelming feelings. But maybe you discovered that food brought a sense of calm. It gave you something reliable, something you could control in a chaotic environment. Or perhaps food became a reward, a way to ease the sting of stress when you heard things like, you've had a rough day, let's have a treat. Over time, those patterns became part of how you deal with stress. So your stress eater is like a helper that's stuck in time, still using those old strategies to try to make you feel better. It learned that food could provide temporary relief when things just felt overwhelming. And while those strategies may have worked back then, they might not be serving you in the same way now. When you understand where this part of you came from, you can start to see it with more compassion. Instead of blaming yourself for stress eating, you can recognize that it's a response rooted in your past experiences, a response that's ready to evolve as you do. So think about the last time your stress eater showed up. Maybe it was a long day at work, and as soon as you got home, you found yourself eating something you didn't even taste because you were so stressed out. Or maybe it's late at night when the house is quiet and the weight of the day finally hits you. The stress eater whispers little things like, come on, let's just have a snack. It'll help you relax. These moments are so common and they're so very human. Your stress eater isn't just about food. It's about finding a way to cope when everything feels just like it's too much. It's that part of you that says, I need relief and I need it now. And let's be honest, for a few moments, food works. That's why this pattern is so powerful and so hard to break. But what if there were other ways to meet that need? What if your stress eater could learn new tools, tools that didn't involve food, but still gave you the same sense of safety and calm? Well, here's where things get exciting. Instead of trying to silence or fight your stress eater, what if you partnered with it? What if you said, I see you, I understand you're trying to help me, so let's figure this out together. Now, this might sound a little strange at first, but it really is a game changer. The first step is to get curious. The next time you notice yourself reaching for food in a stressful moment, pause for just a second and ask yourself, what's going on right now? What am I feeling? And what does my stress eater want from me in this moment? You might find that it's trying to help you feel calm, safe, or in control. Now, once you've identified what your stress eater really wants, you can start to explore other ways to meet that need. So, for example, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you could take a 5-minute break to breathe or step outside for fresh air. If you need comfort, could call a friend or listen to some calming music for a few minutes or just take a few deep breaths. And if you're craving a sense of control, maybe you could make a quick to-do list just to organize your thoughts or tackle one small task. Now, these alternatives don't have to be perfect or complicated. They just need to be enough to show your stress eater that there's other ways to help you. So I want you to remember this. Your stress eater is not your enemy. It's part of you, and it's doing its best to protect you in moments of stress. When you take the time to understand it, to listen to what it really needs, and offer it new tools, you're not just changing your relationship with food, you're changing your relationship with yourself. In the next video, we'll meet another emotional eating part, the comfort eater. This part often shows up when we're feeling lonely or sad, and I'll show you how you can work with it in a way that feels supportive and kind. So if this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. When does your stress eater show up? And what do you think it's trying to protect you from? I'd love to hear what you're thinking. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this series. And remember, understanding your emotional eating parts is the first step to transforming your relationship with food and finding a way to feel more at peace with yourself. I'll see you in the next video.